Why is the camera so close?
Booyah! We're back for another episode of I'd Rather Be Shaving, and man, oh man, do we have
a lot of shit on the table.
Wholesome, Matt. We're going for wholesome. No more of this shit. Anyways, so today we are going to be looking, well, at all this you see before you, and we're going to get back to that as soon as we're done with this introduction. Take it.
Let's do the scent of the day. What do you got?
Well, I'm glad you asked. What we have here, folks, this is a miracle.
A Christmas miracle.
Why? What?
I accidentally ran over it. It's a Christmas miracle.
Not even.
Or Hanukkah.
This is Spruce by Gillette. You've probably never heard of this. In fact, I'm willing to bet, unless it was me, you've never heard of this. This is the only bottle, I'm pretty sure, in existence. At least the only bottle in existence that's been photographed
Can I
online.
hold it for a second?
I don't know. He almost knocked off the table earlier. But this, my friends, is such a mystery and proof, I've spoken of this in the past, in fact, how we've lost so much when it comes to vintage aftershaves, or when it comes to wet shaving in general. Imagine all the products we've lost. I mean, this is a Gillette product. Even PG, the archivist there, at Procter & Gamble, has no idea what this is. He's never heard of it. Can't find anything about it. So I think, my guess is this was a limited run. The bottle they're using, if you look, yeah, it's a Gillette Sun-Up bottle. So when they discontinued this in the late 60s, they might have had bottles left over and created this. Look at this design. It's got the tree on the back. It's really...
Maybe it's just for Christmas.
I don't know what it is, but it's the same bottle, just different cap, different color cap.
Different green shade.
Different green shade, different scent. It's really...
It's nice.
Yeah, it's like oak moss, lavender.
It doesn't smell expensive, like the Penningham.
It smells like a classic aftershave. It's really refreshing. It's a damn shame that you can't find this anymore.
Damn shame.
I challenge.
A damn shame.
That's a damn shame.
Spruce.
I challenge anyone out there to find a bottle of this, or to find anything out about this. The only thing that I've been able to find is an ad. But not even an ad, not an ad I can look at. It was mention of an ad that was made for this. One other thing I think might be going on here is I think it was made in England. I think this is a UK, my friend in the UK actually hooked me up with this, but I think it came out in the UK only. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. I can't.
There's no barcode, so it's like before 68 or whatever the year is for barcode.
This is probably 67 to 70, somewhere around there. This is a complete mystery, folks. I would love a comment below on anything about this. If you can find a bottle, buy a bottle, because this stuff truly is magical. It's the only one I know in existence, and I'm proud to be the owner of it. So thank you.
And when we say magical, we mean Christmas magical. So, the big episode.
Yeah, because size matters. What are we doing here, Matt?
Yes, it does. So we have had so many requests and heard so many comments over the years that we need to tell you all about how to do some restoration at home. How do I take care and do some simple little tips and tricks at home if you just got back from the antique store or granddad's house and he gave you an old vintage razor and you want to try to do some basic stuff at home?
And honestly, this is real fun if you want to include the kids on it as well, especially operating stuff like this.
Yeah, and chemicals.
Kids love this, and the chemicals. Yeah, no.
Sharp
that
tools.
said, don't do this in front of the kids, guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on here, a lot of toxic stuff, a lot of great stuff as well. Go on, Matt.
So we're just going to do a real kind of quick synopsis on some of those popular items you'll find in the shave den. I'll start with the most basic. It's going to be a strop. So if you get an old vintage strop at the antique store, it may look like something like this, and it's got marks all over it, and it looks dirty and used and disgusting, but you see the potential, and you say to yourself, how could I make this look like this, an actual restored vintage strop? Well, it's pretty simple. It really isn't that hard. We do have a whole video on Razor Emporium how to do it, but really quick, this is your best friend. Not just for, no, you're not, sorry. This is 180 grit sanding sponge. I love the sanding sponges because they can form. Whenever you get a piece of sandpaper, the next question is, I need a sanding block for the sandpaper. So this is all in one, and when you're done, throw it away. I love that it gets in the little corners, nooks and crannies, with especially on a brush with the beveled edge. But you're just gonna want to go over and basically sand this entire surface, and you're gonna be shocked. You're gonna be like, oh my god, I'm changing the color. It looks all light colored. This dark, beautiful color's not here. Rest assured, once you're done sanding it, you can apply a leather oil or leather conditioner, and you're gonna get this beautiful leathery brown suede color back. Thank you, Vanna White.
Vanna, what do you bid on that? $600 is her bid.
Luxurious, even. I'm a hand model.
I know that hand. It was in the fall 1973 Boulevard watch catalog.
For the backside,
Hand.
this is cotton canvas, and this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like after we're done cleaning it. And the best way to clean that is to just use dish soap or laundry soap and treat it like a piece of cotton. Scrub it. You can work it with a brush. You can kind of work on it itself, kind of, scrub it against itself. But regardless, when you're all done, hang it upside down, or sorry, right side up. So it's just hanging vertical. That way, when it dries, it's not going to have some funky kink in it or something. It's going to be nice.
Like a belt rack, what you would
like
hang
a
your
belt rack or
yeah.
a clothes rack, whatever. So that's real simple strop restoration: is sanding, oiling, and soap and water.
I've always wanted the cotton canvas machine. Is that something else?
Okay, so maybe another item you found in Dad's possessions or the antique store would be a traditional cutthroat straight razor, and you're wondering, gosh, this looks intimidating but so much fun. How could I use this? Well, you can do some cleanup at home on the steel using, again, sandpaper. You can work your way up in a progression.
Friend.
Yeah, your best friend. You're gonna want to go low to get the biggest scratches and dings out, and then work your way up pretty high, maybe all the way to 2,000, maybe 4,000, just to get that nice shine on it. If you have a Dremel tool, I would highly recommend it to really speed up the process rather than doing all this by hand. But it is going to be a danger factor now. So you're going to want to make sure this is secured in maybe a bench vise or something that's not going to move. And you're not holding two things and trying to move two different variables. When we polish in the shop, we have big buffing motors and they're bolted down, and we're just moving the razor in front of them. So if you're going to do this, have only one thing moving, not this and this.
And safety glasses.
And safety glasses. If you do want to use a Dremel, get this attachment. Get the little wand attachment. It's totally worth it. Versus
I
trying
agree.
to hold
I was
this.
looking at this like, damn, this is really, this is the way to go. Because
Yeah.
this is a plug-in model as opposed to the chargeable ones that most people buy first because they're cheaper.
Yeah, but this little wand gives you a lot of dexterity versus trying to hold the entire motor.
This little wand of mine. I'm sorry. Go on.
So yeah, and then in terms of what to actually use on the Dremel, they usually have like little cotton attachments, little polishing rouge compounds that will come with. There's all sorts of a variety of attachments you can get to make that job easy. We'll move right along. I'm trying to keep these brief, not too much detail. Okay, so most safety razors you're going to come across are going to be chrome or nickel, and both are safe to clean with chemicals, but people always want to rush in and bust out the heavy chemicals. First,
Fools rush in, Matt.
Fools rush in where angels fear to tread.
Only fools rush in, that's right, Doug. So, the easiest way to assess what actual restoration is needed on the metal is to first clean the metal. You're sitting here looking at all the soap scum of all the years of buildup. Get it wet, use some detergent, you'll be amazed by how much work this really does. I'm just putting a little tiny bit of dish detergent and some water, and if I do some real basic scrubbing with an old toothbrush, you'll watch how quickly this base plate
Cleans up.
cleans up. Shiny.
Happy people.
Shiny. New. Yeah, it's kind of soapy still. Oh,
But you get the point.
so like we were showing you, just some
Hold on. Go on.
just some simple agitation with a toothbrush and a dish detergent can get all that soap scum off before you even got out the chemicals or any kind of polishes. Because you really want to polish the metal, not all the soap.
Right.
Now, for polishing chrome or nickel razors, I think Flitz is probably the most recommended that I've heard and I've used. I think it's a great one. Do you have any experience using Flitz or Moss?
I know people recommend it a lot. I don't know if it's the best one, however, because the abrasiveness of it.
It is abrasive. Doug's absolutely right. You got to be slow and careful. I like Flitz because it is a bit slower acting than Moss. I feel like I can control it a bit better. But for a shameless plug, our $5 polishing cloth at Razor Emporium does a
$5.
$5. Yeah, it does a wonderful job of cleaning the surface and actually has a polishing rouge embedded into the fabric. So it's not a sunglass cleaner, it actually has a polishing compound.
Doesn't rouge just mean red in French?
It does, because most polishing compounds like this are red rouge. And that's exactly what it has. Red rouge is safe on all metals, so you can polish gold or platinum or rhodium or anything silver with red rouge. Which
So
is
wouldn't this be red?
you would think so.
You would.
But
Another myth busted.
when you do any kind of chemical cleaning, you're going to see black stains come off, and it's either going to come off there, or if you use a cotton towel, I used this cotton towel earlier on something, you'll see black stains, and people are like, oh, look at all the dirt I'm getting off my razor.
It's metal.
Bingo. This is actually the plating you're taking off. It's just like sanding wood. If you want new, clean wood, you have to get through all the layer of dinged up or varnished or whatever other kind of wood. It's the same thing. If you want to get bright, shiny nickel, you have to take off the nickel that's not so bright and shiny.
Yep. The patina.
The patina, the oxidized layer. For tips and tricks on other kinds of restoration with safety razors, you can check out other episodes we've done. I know Razor Emporium, we've done videos on different kinds of metals. I don't want to dive way, way far deep on this. I just want to kind of touch the surface. But some of the other products that, compare, like when we're using, if you use this little kind of wheel on your Dremel, the kind of wheel we use in the shop is much bigger, something like this. If you use a brass wheel on your Dremel, we're using a brass wheel like this, which, by the way, brass is a wonderful wheel to put onto a nickel razor and actually clean out the knurl and get off any kind of gunk. It's amazing.
And why is that?
Because brass is softer than nickel, so it won't scratch it.
Okay.
It's going to dig in. You can also get a brass brush like this at home to kind of simulate that. You're going to want to get one that's softer, not the wiry.
Use that to clean my gun with.
Yeah, exactly. The firearm ones are perfect.
Those are the firearm
Yep.
ones, yeah.
Or golf club. You don't want to get the ones that are meant for taking off paint, like a steel wire wheel. No, it has to be fairly soft. So these are awesome. Get them in a hardware store.
Gun shop.
Gun shop, yeah.
Amazon. Not a sponsor.
And last but not least, for safety razors, toothpaste. I know it sounds crazy.
No, it doesn't actually.
It's a very mild abrasive.
It's polish.
It's polished. It's even more mild than this. So if you have silver,
And the fact that you're using this, they're right next to each other already.
Yeah.
And I actually typically jump to this first before using dishwasher detergent.
yeah, it does a great job. I've always found, especially with silver razors, the whitening one does good. I don't know why. It just does.
It might be just the abrasives.
Or
What's
it
in
has
they're using,
baking soda or something. I don't know.
which is an abrasive.
Right.
Yeah.
So toothpaste, a really cheap way. And of course,
And great for on the road too. If you're traveling, you want to keep your razor clean.
yeah,
You have a little thing of toothpaste in your adopt kit. That's polish. I look at it as just polish.
yeah. Q-tips. I love the pointy ones.
Yeah, those are bullet tips.
You can have that.
Can I really?
You really can. We buy them by the carton. But Q-tips are great for getting into nooks and crannies or applying a polish in a little area or whatever. But the bullet ones are helpful with safety razors rather than the really soft, fuzzy
Yeah,
ones.
this is the best tip all day. Oh yeah, I've never seen these.
Those are great
Have you
tips.
seen these?
And then last but not least, for sanitation, the actual disinfectant, because really we have cleaning, then we have polishing, then we have sanitizing. Last step of restoration. A lot of people like to talk about Marvies, and I think it is a wonderful product to use for quickly to put your razor in and sanitize it. When I say quickly, it's going to go in there for a couple minutes, and it's going to come out a couple minutes later.
What's the plating on that?
That's nickel. You should be fine for a couple minutes.
Okay.
If you left this in here overnight, you're going to be very, very sad in the morning. Yeah, because it'll probably strip the finish off, or damage it, or stain it, or something.
Discolor it, like nickel and stuff like that. Sanitizing agents, I try to just
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people
But
like.
but as the barber would too, just for a few seconds is all you need. Anything more is gonna then rinse it off. Go on.
Exactly. Another popular product people have talked about for both cleaning and sanitizing be scrubbing bubbles. So this is a foaming bathroom cleaner, so it can also do both jobs for you.
I used to use that more. I use the dishwasher more these days, just because it's super easy, super simple.
Dishwashers?
As long as you dry them as soon as the dishwasher's done. Otherwise,
Yes.
you'll get watermarks on it like you would a glass.
Dishwashers are great. Just be careful if you have any razors that have paint, like a red tip
Or a rubber coating.
or a rubber coating, a Fat Boy, a super adjustable, anything with black
Old
paint,
Mercurs,
red
like
paint.
Slants had that white, like rubbery type coating on the handle. I don't know if it was rubber, but it was something.
It was a clear coat, yeah. You gotta be really careful with
it'll melt
dishwashers. Simple 3-piece razors like this, no problem. Doug's absolutely right. Maybe even top rack if you want to be extra safe. But yeah, always want to end by sanitizing your razor. But let's now switch over. So we covered strops, safeties, and straights. Let's talk brushes.
That's right, folks. We're moving on to brushes now. So what are we looking at here, Matt? I noticed you brought in some.
I brought an example.
components.
Yeah. So the first thing you're going to want to do with a brush, if you're restoring, it's going to be the funnest part, is to grab your big pair of scissors and just completely sear off all of the original hair. Yeah. Yeah, so you're just going to work your way and just cut through it. You'll be surprised actually how hard it is to get through all that hair.
Yeah, you can. I actually use a rug cutting blade.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Cool.
I'm pretty cool.
Don't use a bandsaw. Tried that once. It just kind of digs and tries to pull the brush into
Tries to pull your hand.
Yeah,
into-
pretty
yeah.
much. Don't do that.
No.
But a pair of scissors or a box cutter blade or whatever you're saying,
Yeah.
a cutting. A
Oh,
carpet
that
cutting.
I hold down and I just go at it, and it's gonna be a new blade.
Right. But after you get kind of the stump of it all out, the next tool you're going to use is a Forstner bit. And that's going to be a bit that has more or less a flat bottom. It is going to have, of course, one little spike like this. But if you look inside here, that's the kind of the remnant fingerprint.
That's the indicator species.
Yeah.
that this was used.
That's how we know that a Forstner bit was used. So it's going to leave you with a flat bottom so that when you put your knot in, it actually is going to be level. You don't want to use a traditional drill because it's going to be pitched and you're going to be sitting there and be rocking back and forth. So Forstner bit.
And you can get a Forstner bit at any hardware store.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend it. I've used regular bits in the past, and I mean, well, you can do it.
That's the tool.
That's the one you want.
Yeah. You can also use a Dremel. It's going to take forever. Like Doug said, it's going to be not the right tool for the job.
I also need to really mention something important. Wear a mask while you're doing this whenever you're drilling out the old knot, because I don't know what they used for glue back in the day, but it probably wasn't healthy for you.
stinks.
It smells really bad. It gets all over your hands. That said, wear gloves too. So gloves and a face mask.
I think safety equipment should be used just for any of
all
this.
of this. But especially, I mean, like, because what you're doing is you're creating friction. That's remelting the glue, this ancient glue that was made out of God knows what. Gets all over your hands. I've done this. I've made this mistake.
Horse hooves.
Horse hooves, whatever. I mean, like, it's true. The glue,
Yeah.
it's in your whatever. But asbestos, who knows what's going on in this? So wear protection.
Right. Okay, so when you get it all drilled out, now it's going to be the time to grab your pair of calipers and actually measure the socket size. A lot of people try to measure the knot, not the depth.
Oh.
The span. Inside to inside, use these sides. Yes. So a lot of people try
Do
to...
I want it inside the glue spot? Is that the wood? I can't tell on this. There's a few layers going on here.
You're right. It is kind of hard. Sometimes you have to get it like an average.
So the knot is going to be set into this
Yes.
area? Okay, so we're looking at, what is that, 2018 millimeters?
This is digital. So... Hold on. Technical difficulties. Let's zero it out.
See my confusion?
Millimeters. There you go.
Okay, so
18.
18.59. So yeah,
So you probably want to get like an 18 or a 20 millimeter knot, and it's going to be tough because
it's gonna be
sometimes,
snug. Yeah.
yeah, some people will say it's a 20 millimeter knot, but then when you actually go to measure, it's 18. I've seen that there's always like a factor that they'll say it's like more 20 up here, 18 at the base. That's why it's a misnomer. Also, trying to measure what you already have on hand by measuring up here is not the right size. You have to do it once it's a socket, once it's drilled out.
Right.
And this, I actually brought this as a case. I'm not joking. This is a customer's brush who sent this in. He did all the work for us. He actually drilled this out and he provided this knot, and he mismeasured. And that's why I brought this up here. So he bought what he thought was gonna be the right size because he measured the existing knot as it was up here, and then it was actually too big for this.
Yeah.
So you have to do it once it's already drilled out.
That'll happen a lot. I mean, like, so if you're gonna set a 24 millimeter, I typically go for a 26 millimeter size base, so it'll fit in. I know it's gonna fit in there because if you get a 24 millimeter and a 24 millimeter,
You mean
hole-
22? You mean you want to go down, not up?
Well, I want to make sure that it's going to fit in there because if this is 22 millimeters and this is 22 millimeters, these are not always even,
Right.
with the glue bumps and whatnot. So you want it to be bigger than the actual size of the knot.
Yes, a hole bigger than the knot. Yes.
Yeah. So a millimeter bigger or 2 millimeters bigger is
sure.
what I typically do.
Yeah, and you can kind of shape it like this one. We kind of tapered a little bit to fit on.
Just sanded it.
Yeah, just use a little sandpaper and shape it a little bit. But yeah, and then in terms of actually getting it to set, sometimes you're going to be really lucky, and inside is going to have a perfect little shelf for you.
Yeah.
A lot of the old ones, though, I'm sure you've seen it. They're hollow. You'll go right through that shelf.
I've never seen this before. I don't do a lot of brush restoration when it comes to stuff like this.
Well, that's modern. It's Omega
Yeah.
as well. But a lot of the vintage ones are hollow handles, and so
Floating.
You have to now figure out how you're going to float this knot. The way I used to do it was with a piece of wood or plastic, or some people use coins.
Yeah.
I got a tip from Aaron at Frugal Shaving, and I want to give him a shout out for putty. Not the guy from Seinfeld. Putty. Hey, I'm putty. But water putty. If you fill this up, and it's super easy to make, it's powder and water, and you mix it with like a spoon or toothpick, it'll set in 24 hours and give you a perfect little shelf at the exact right level that now you can glue to, which is our next step.
Right. So that said, there are a bunch of different glues out there to choose from, epoxy, so on and so forth. Newbie mistake is Gorilla Snot. People pick that up, and that is a no-no, only because, in fact, I highly recommend whatever glue you choose to use, mix it first and put it on just a table or a napkin or
Piece
a
of
cloth,
cardboard.
just to see what it does. Because some glue will expand when it dries, like a foam almost, and that's what Gorilla Snot did for one of my brushes. Remember that brush I showed you years ago? It was all
split
like,
it out.
Oh, it was gross. So you want to use a two-part epoxy.
Yeah, they'll come in a syringe like this. This is what we use in the shop, JB Weld.
Same here.
Yeah, not a sponsor, but had really, really good luck with it. It's super strong. It sets in, less than 24 hours, but we always give it 24.
Equal parts. The one problem I have with these is the plungers together like this. Ideally, you would push down in the center and you get equal parts. That isn't always the case.
For the first
however.
push, maybe.
Yeah, usually air bubbles get trapped in there. So what I do, and what Matt does, is we cut right here,
And
creating
split
two
them.
separate plungers that you
okay.
can. Oh, I guess Matt doesn't do that, but that's what I do. And I can one at a time, so I can eye equal amounts,
Okay.
and then I mix it together.
I usually just kind of squirt a little bit on a piece of cardboard first to make sure that it's now flowing evenly, and then pour.
Yeah, no, I do the cut the
Yeah.
plunger.
And always a tip for putting in the glue: go with less than you think. Because the worst thing you want to do is put too much, and then you go to push this knot in, and it spills out.
Or it gets caught up in the hairs.
Yeah.
And you're in there trying to get it out, or cutting little hairs off.
The other little way you can kind of prevent any kind of damage to your actual handle is to wrap this with electrical tape before you go to glue. That way, if any does spill out, you're not actually having it stick to your handle.
Good call.
But
Or
yeah,
masking tape, I guess. would
masking
be-
tape,
yeah.
any kind of tape, painter's tape, yeah. But put less glue than you think, and come back in 24 hours. If it wasn't enough and it pops out, oh well, now you can put a little bit more. But the worst thing is if you get a bunch of glue up inside the hair.
You know, and on something like this, what I would use instead of tape, just because it's such a weird shape, I would coat it with rubber cement and let that dry, and then I would, put it in there. Then after that, you just rub the rubber cement off, and whatever's on top, that comes right off too.
Okay. And then if you have a vintage brush, it may also need, I should say before you do any of this stuff, you may want to actually restore it. And this is another place where the sanding sponge is your best friend. This will do a great job of getting into all these little nooks and crannies, because half the reason that a brush looks kind of bad or vintage is because of scratches, it's dull, there's dents. Yeah.
Depending on the material.
And if you sand it first and then come back with the drill, grab that bad boy, you can actually polish it. You can fire it up, baby.
Oh, really? Oh, it's on.
So yeah, just a cotton buffing wheel like this, like you'd use on a car, would be great. And you can actually use car polish to really give that vintage brush
a
nice
marine polish, too.
Yeah, a nice shine. But again, be careful. You may want to put this in a bench vise with like a towel around it and just kind of do like maybe the top half and the second half. But either way, you want to do all that work before the knot goes in, because it's never a better time.
And I want to disabuse you of a certain myth that's been going around too. People often comment that the best glue to use is marine, two-part marine glue. And it's not. And I think in their minds, I think it's just associated with water, so is a brush. But the only difference between the marine glue is that it's made to set underwater. That's why it's marine. So any two-part epoxy for the most part, but JB Weld, we definitely give 2 thumbs up for, if not more.
And then the last tip for any kind of vintage restoration, this is a modern Omega brush, but a lot of old brushes will have writing with the name of the brush, Ever Ready.
Yes, it's good.
And so you can get it at any kind of craft store online, a product called Rub and Buff. Big fan of it. They have a million different shades. This is a pearl blue. But if you have black or gold, which is the most common ones, it will look good. Just you put it over the word and then wipe it off with like a paper towel, and it'll actually fill in those words.
With color.
Yeah, with some color, and you can get creative with it. I always like black or gold because they go with almost any color scheme. But sometimes blue or red or whatever.
You can use epoxy. You can use different. I'm not epoxy. I'm sorry. You can use
Enamel paint.
enamel paint as well. Just rub it off, and it fills in, and it's waterproof as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I have. I mean, this stuff is specially made for that.
Right.
However.
And then, last but not least, what do we going to say with brushes?
I think that was it. Did we cover it all?
I think we did. There is one thought drying your brush so that you never you never have this problem again where the knot falls out or it gets deteriorated. Always hang your brush upside down. I know it's a common thing we all think about, but people ask me, should I put it on the counter to dry, hang upside down? Always upside down. And why is that, Doug? Why would you want to brush upside down?
I don't know. I don't know if I subscribe to that.
Well, you're full of
Why? Surface tension.
Okay, I would just say
The whisking action will draw the water up due to surface tension. That's why I think that's a big myth too about hanging your brush versus standing. I've tested it out. Over the years, I used to think that hanging it would be the best way to do it because built up soap, scum, and everything would drip down in there. But no, it's just through physics. It's the drawing.
Well, you know my name is Simon, and I like to do drawings.
Of the as soon as this dries, it starts whisking. It has a whisking action.
like capillary action.
Exactly what it is. Capillary. Animal hair. Synthetics, I don't know. So.
Well, I don't think you'd be in the wrong to hang it upside down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
You're not doing any harm.
Can't be too careful. I
Right.
did do a test years ago where I hung one, same exact make and model, and stood the other one up, and I was probably like 8 months into the test, and I had a friend stay with me. He used one of them. But what I was doing is I was lathering both them up, rinsing them off, and then just leaving them like that just to see what, at the end of the year I was going to test it for the results, see if there was anything to it. But I got, again, I didn't never finish that test. But I do suspect that the capillary action, the whisking action is something to consider. So there are some myths. We'll look at this in a future episode, however.
Yeah, if you have a experience with the brush falling apart because you hung it the wrong way, let us know in the comments.
I think it's more what you see when you see damage to a brush like that. It's from soaking it in a bowl of hot water and it's softening the glue.
Yeah, people do way too hot of water with brushes.
And I know I've mentioned many times about prepping your brush in the scuttle while you're in the shower and whatnot. And I should always say, and I often forget to mention this, as long as it's not the glue level is not in the water below the surface of the water too. You don't want that. So you just want to be soaking the bristles. So you don't want this totally submerged in hot water because it will soften the glue and do damage over time.
Okay. Well, I think we covered it all.
I think we did too.
Yeah.
Until next time, folks, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe below, and you can win
A free tune-up service at Razor Emporium. So if you have something to send in, whether it's a brush, a strop, a straight razor,
What about this?
safety razor, pair of calipers, we'll do a quick tune-up on it for you guys as the drawing this week.
Thank you for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Saludos.